Okay, people, I'm going to start off right now by telling you that this video is not going to be easy for me to make. Today we're going to be talking about Ernest Hemingway. You all know that when I really like something or really like someone, I can talk for quite a long time about that subject. And no big surprise here, but I love Ernest Hemingway. Uh, I'd even consider naming my first child after him. Ernest if it's a boy, Ernestina if it's a girl. I don't know. It also shouldn't be surprised, seeing as you all know how much I love J.D. Salinger, and Hemingway was actually somebody who J.D. Salinger looked up to. I'm saying that in terms of early 20th century American lit, a person can argue that you can essentially read any Hemingway novel and you'd be set for at least the first half of the century. Anyway, I'm going to do my best to keep this video from lasting forever, but take my passion for Hemingway as a sign that this video is actually quite important. Ernest Hemingway, or Papa as his friends call him, was born on July 21st, 1899 in Oak Park, Illinois. After he graduated from high school, he immediately started to work as a newspaper reporter for the Kansas City Star. The way Hemingway learned to write at the Star essentially set the precedent for the rest of his writing and his career as a writer. Hemingway writes in short, declarative sentences. In fact, just the language in his novels is suitable for a fifth grader. Now, the complexity that hides behind his writing, as well as the subject matter, is not suitable for a fifth grader, but we all know that a modern newspaper is written somewhere between a fifth and seventh grade reading level so that all readers can understand it. And that's exactly how Hemingway wrote. Now, this is a bit of an oversimplification on my part, but it still holds some weight, and it's still a good way to look at Hemingway as an author. Now, we're going to fast forward a little bit to when World War I started. When the war started, Hemingway joined the war effort, and he drove an ambulance in the Italian army. He was injured, but he made it home just fine. And when he came home, he was 20 years old. He met his first wife, Hadley Richardson, and the two of them immediately moved to Paris. Now, when Hemingway moved to Paris, he hung out with and wrote with other writers and artists, some of whom became very, very important. Somebody like F. Scott Fitzgerald, who wrote The Great Gatsby, Ezra Pound, Pablo Picasso, James Joyce, Gertrude Stein. All of these people were part of Hemingway's circle of friends in Paris. In 1925, Hemingway traveled to Spain to watch the bullfighting festival, and this inspired him to write his first novel, The Sun Also Rises, which to me is truly a fantastic book. It's one of my favorites. Later, Papa had an affair with Pauline Pfeiffer, and he and Hadley got a divorce. He would eventually marry Pauline Pfeiffer, too. After returning from World War I, Hemingway wrote A Farewell to Arms, which was an immediate success and turned into a movie rather quickly. Now, Hemingway is remembered not only for his writing, but also for the way that he lived his life. He was a big game hunter, a deep sea fisherman. He may have even fought a bull. One of these big-time excursions that he took was to the front of the Spanish Civil War in 1937. It was actually here that he met another writer named Martha Gellhorn, and the two of them fell in love while they were in Spain. Their story was actually turned into a movie recently starring Nicole Kidman. That movie was called Hemingway and Gellhorn. It was a decent movie. It was also during this time that Hemingway wrote For Whom the Bell Tolls, which firmly established him as America's foremost writer and novelist at the time. Soon after, Hemingway and Gellhorn got married. They moved to Cuba. And then when World War II started, Hemingway served as a correspondent and was actually present at D-Day. But it was also during this time that Papa met Mary Welsh, who was another war correspondent. He eventually divorced Martha Gellhorn and got married to Welsh. This was his fourth marriage. Now in 1951, Hemingway wrote The Old Man and the Sea, which is a very small book, but it really is a fantastic book. And this actually won him the Pulitzer Prize. By 1954, Hemingway was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature for his overall contributions to literature and his impressive career. He then wrote his novel called A Movable Feast, which was about his time spent in Paris with Gertrude Stein and Ezra Pound and James Joyce, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Pablo Picasso. And after he finished writing that, he retired to Idaho. And on July 2nd, 1961, Hemingway committed suicide. So based on his worldly adventures and the novels that followed these adventures, it's clear that Hemingway used his own life and his own experiences as a basis for his writing. Something that he certainly learned from his time spent as a reporter. Overall, Hemingway only knew how to live big and to tell the truth about it. And that's what he did, and that's what makes his fiction so memorable. It's all true. It's all real life. So as you read Hemingway, don't focus on searching for symbols or metaphors or anything literary. That's not to say that it's not there, because it really is. But Hemingway's writing is meant to be felt. It's meant to transport you to the exact same time and place in which Hemingway himself was experiencing the story. So don't read this guy. Experience this guy. I'll see you all later.